monsters are out for blood.
Started. All right. It is time to howl at the moon because I am here with Gregory Lamberson, Aaron Krygier, L. Nunzio, and Chad Risley. We are here to talk about Frenzy Moon. It just came out yesterday on digital and on demand. And I gotta tell you, man, I had so much fun watching this movie. It reminded me of the old drive-in movie of the 70s where you had the really low budget, really cool, made the most out of the budget effects, and I had so much fun watching this movie.
Normally, I shoot for a 70s atmosphere, but wind up in the 80s because it's just in my blood. So I'm glad to hear somebody actually say we succeeded with the 70s.
Now, Greg, I've known you quite for a few years now, so I would love to know what came up with the idea for you to do a werewolf movie this time around.
Three of my novels, three of my 12 novels are werewolf novels with Frenzy in the title. They're a trilogy, but they're these big, epic, urban police versus werewolf things that I could never do on a low budget. And I really wanted to make a werewolf movie. So I came up with this cabin in the woods scenario. And right from the get go, I saw it as being sort of a cross between The Howling and John Carpenter's The Thing, where you got the threat on the outside and you have a threat unknown on the inside. And I'm a big fan of Assault on Precinct 13. So it's a siege film as much as it is anything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Aaron, you were awesome as Gavin, this mysterious hunter who when we first see you, you're covered in moss and you pretty much scared the crap out of these two hunters. And not we get to learn more about your character as the film goes on. And I gotta say, you were awesome. I really liked you in this movie because you really gave this little, I don't know, you had like this sense of vendetta with your character because your character has a vendetta against these werewolves. How'd you prepare for this role?
Yeah, well, thank you first and foremost. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the kind words. Um, this Gavin is kind of in my wheelhouse. I'm kind of the grumpy, gruff. It's part of my charm. See, look at L. Look at L. Um, no, it just it spoke to me a lot. I'm a guy that typically actually roots for like the villain in movies. So I like the hard edge, hard nose, and Greg and I have we have a very similar sensibility for the most part when it comes to movies, when it comes to tropes, love of Carpenter, The Thing, stuff like that. So, I took a little bit of McCready in there and grew the beard and did all that kind of stuff. And, it's just preparing like anything else. You read the script and you build something out of it. And I've seen a ton of Greg's work and read a lot of his stuff. And I think it's definitely his best script. I think he feels that way too. And the character was really easy to get into. He let us do things too. Greg was very open about, if you feel something, go with it, and so I was able to take a little bit of myself. I think any good actor puts a little bit of themselves into every role that they can. And it was just a blast and working with the rest of the cast. And it was just an awesome experience in general. So wasn't hard to do. As far as other little things, I would sometimes isolate myself a little bit from the rest of the group just to get into that character a little bit, keep that little bit of my own air about me. But for the most part, it's just do the job, read the lines, have fun.
Yeah, it looks like everyone had fun in this movie, and that brings us to Elle, who plays Sheila. Um, for a while for the movie, I thought you were a total badass because you brought this badassery character to the role, and then Michaela goes from being, the outcast to being a badass herself. So here are two badasses, and as Greg said, I like the fact that he brought this Carpenter like most motif to the film, and you got to work with a great young cast as well with you being part of this group. What was that like?
It was actually it was very fun and very easy because I am very good friends with the majority of them, and the other ones that I was not, I had just met for the first time, and I think that we got along very well right off the bat. But yeah, for the most part, the cast was just people that I already knew, already had worked with. Stephen Maiseke, I've worked with goodness knows how many times at this point, but yeah, it was really just a blast.
And I like the part where Jennifer goes into the outhouse and out of nowhere you just come out and start dancing out of nowhere. Was that something that was Greg? Did you write that in there, or is that something
So
she?
listen, this is how things can evolve on a set. In the script, the description of that dance was about an eighth of a page, and one page equals 1 minute, so it should be about an eighth of screen time. But I asked my friend Kim Piazza, who is script supervisor and executive producer, if she wouldn't mind choreographing a little something. Well, it turned out to be something bigger. It required more time to shoot. And then there's a crazy punchline to it, which drives my wife crazy. It's such an 80s moment when the two gals are dancing and the three guys are putting their hands behind their heads. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is such an 80s moment. It totally dispels the 70s atmosphere I want, but I just couldn't resist myself.
That's
So I went
awesome.
for the cheap joke at the end of that sequence.
That's great. Which now brings us to Chad, because sadly he gets killed in the beginning of this movie, and he's like the setup for what goes. He's him and Caitlin are the setup for what's about to start this movie, and I find your character interesting as well, Chad, because here's Caitlin getting all worried, and you're like, oh, it's nothing, and then just the way you brought yourself. What was it like working on this film in terms of your character?
I had a blast. I mean, you don't often find yourself with an opportunity as an actor to A, work with Greg Lamberson, and also B, get covered in pig blood and pig entrails. So that was really the draw for me, was to get covered in fake blood. Except I'm not sure how much of it was fake. No, but seriously, it was a blast. I've been wanting to work with Greg for a long time. I met Greg back in 2016 at the Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival when we screened Massacre on aisle 12 over there. And um, we've had a good working relationship ever since. And it was just a thrill to be able to be on set with him for the last day of filming and the first day of filming and the other last day of filming.
So, Albert, um, Chad has worked on a number of films in Buffalo, shorts and features alike. And he and Elle actually were in another film together, but I don't think they had any screen time together. And that's called Slasher Days of Summer, which is free on YouTube right now. And we shot Chad and Caitlin's scenes 2 days after I finished my film festival, which was crazy because I'm so tired after that film festival. It's like running a movie. But I knew Chad was going to be in town. And so I brought Caitlin out. Caitlin is originally from this area.
Yeah.
So now she's based in Georgia, but she was originally from the Buffalo area. So Chad really is the one outsider, but we call him the honorary Buffalonian. Just the chance to have the two of them together. In B movies, horror films, you need to have the people who get killed in the beginning. And because the rest of the cast is so young, I wanted to be able to have some people closer to my age. Sorry, Chad. Not old farts, but mature adults instead of young adults. So we brought them out to shoot that scene. And as it turns out, we had to do a lot of pickups. We had to redo a lot of special effects. We had to shoot some additional scenes just to meet our running time. And Chad happened to be in town when we had what we thought was our third last day. The third time we thought it was our last day. And he came by and just to visit and watch us shooting some effects. Well, as it turns out, the distributor, when he saw my locked picture, he wanted to show more werewolves in the beginning. I wrote that script, so you really didn't see the werewolves in the first half.
Right.
And he's like, with these fast channels, the FAST channels where they have the commercials and stuff, you really need something every 6 minutes, and I need something. And I'm like, fine, I don't mind punching up the scenes. It's totally different than what I had in mind for there, but anything that helps sell the film that doesn't interfere with my vision, I'm all for. So I figured for this additional werewolf action, I needed to get some doubles for Caitlin and Chad for one long shot of them running and maybe some cutaways of their feet. And so I posted that I was looking for people and I didn't say who they were doubling for, but I described the wardrobe that the characters were going to have. And Chad contacted me, goes, just so you know, I'm going to be in town next week shooting a vertical film, one of these serialized vertical.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We ended up getting him and just getting somebody to double for Caitlin. And once I knew I had him, his whole death scene was off camera. So now what you see with the werewolf ripping him apart, that's all stuff we shot right before I delivered the film. So he was there in September. He visited in the winter. And I don't know, what month was it when we shot that pickup of you, Chad?
It was in the spring, maybe March.
What cold?
It was freezing. It was
And
freezing. It's always freezing in Buffalo.
the memorable line of that day was, "Please don't get the blood in my eye."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guess what happened?
The blood got in your eye, didn't it?
And,
All of the blood. It was
and
like
what
Niagara Falls river of blood right into my eyeballs.
Oh man.
Good times.
and what had happened, everyone was just like looking at each other, and I'm looking at my wife, and she's shaking her head. It was inevitable. I mean, like the minute he said that, it was
Yeah.
going to happen.
Completely manifested it.
You jinxed yourself. That's what happened.
So as it turns out, he may only appear in that first scene, but he made appearances throughout the shoot.
Yes, that's true. And you have to I think you had reached out because originally you weren't going to use the pig entrails. You were going to use he was going to use like a cow tongue or something and like have the werewolf appear to rip that out. So just randomly one day he sends me a message and he goes, "Are you allergic to cow tongue?" And I said, I think I'll just bring my own lunch that day.
Oh man. What I really liked about the film, you mentioned The Thing, but I also thought of another film, now I think about it, and it's a 70s film. I thought The Beast Must Die. I don't know if you remember that movie.
So yeah,
You're Cushing and like there's a whole group of people and you have to discover which one's the werewolf. I thought of that
it's a valid comparison, but for me, it was just the thing because of the test, the sequence of them administering the test. But The Beast Must Die is definitely one that I referenced during my crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, because I thought about that one scene where Aaron, Gavin is, just like there's someone in here that, we gotta see who's the werewolf in here and gives everyone the test. And I really like that scene because that's when it really picks up in terms of the werewolf action. That's when things really get going. And I gotta say that the practical effects were amazing in this, with the budget you guys had, used. I mean, these are some pretty cool looking werewolves, hands down. I like them.
And it worked to our advantage that I wasn't happy with them in the beginning and kept getting more and more, and we kept going back and reshooting because originally we were gonna have one werewolf and it was gonna double for all the werewolves that attack at the end. And because I had to keep going, we had different werewolves. We had different looks. We had two different suits. We had two different puppets. There are shots where you see two in the frame at the same time, and you edit a bunch of those scenes together, and it looks like there's a lot more than two. So it worked out. I mean, there were definitely challenges involved with trying to do those on the budget we had.
Yeah, and I think it worked too because if you think about it, you mentioned different looks. It kind of distinguishes that they can look differently, in terms of you don't have to. All werewolves don't always look the same in terms of that. So I think that's what worked as well.
I remember I had a conversation with one of the effects guys during pre-production as we were getting closer to shooting, and he said to me, "Well, the werewolf's the star of the movie." And I know that that's probably a practical way of looking at it, but in my head, I was like, no, that's not true. In this film, the characters are what matters. It's a siege film. It's the dynamics of the people. It's the different conflicts between them. That's what I'm interested in doing that I hadn't really done before. There are a couple of sequences in there that were like 9 pages. So, I mean, that gives the actors a lot of chance to react and do their thing that otherwise in a film with 2 or 3 page scenes, one after another, they don't really get that opportunity in this kind of film.
Yeah, and what I've also found interesting was in a lot of werewolf movies, you see usually you see a full transformation, and where in this case you only see the eyes and the mouth, and then you see them in full, full galley. And I thought it was different. It was different from what we're used to, but I think it worked considering what you had to work with in terms of the budget, because
Well, that wasn't a budgetary consideration, though. I mean, if the story required us to see a full transformation, I would have done it. But to me, that just doesn't, there's no logic in that. If you're watching a character change, why wouldn't you put him down right away? Why wouldn't you shoot him right away?
yeah, exactly.
Within the logic of the story, it just didn't make sense to attempt to do a full transformation. And I had different drafts of the script where maybe we'd see the hands changing a little or this happening a little, but at the end, the effects guys even wanted to do sort of a brow or something on him. And I was like, for the payoff of that scene, I want his face as human as possible.
Yeah, I think it worked. With just doing the eyes and the fangs. That was good enough for me. It reminded me of what was that 80? There's an '80s movie, Waxwork, where you see a guy slowly transforming, and then there's a little bit of the eyebrows, but you do see him more of a human before he gets killed, and I think it works better that way.
I'm all for showing transformations if you do them well. And in fact, I just watched Werewolves. At one point, Werewolves was going to be the title of this film, and I didn't like the film, but there were a lot of great werewolves in there, a lot of great transformations, and they did clever things that didn't require, you know, extravagant setups and time, just quick uh, little bits here and there. So I could have done more, but just because it was the dynamics of the people, them reacting to somebody who looks like their friend to me was stronger than them reacting to a monster suit in this particular scene.
Yeah, and
And the
also,
payoff of that scene, the really grisly practical effect, I think that's the moment where the audience is all in.
yeah, exactly, definitely. And also, we get to see Michaela's transformation from being this outcast to, once we know what happened to Clinton, she just goes off the deep end. Like, she just now is like, I want to kill everyone because of what they did. And then the sport, of course, there's that resistance where, they're trying to make her stop from going insane, but she can't help it. And I think that's what, to see her go from, that particular character development, I think that really worked as well.
We'll see what the critical consensus is going forward, but I think Aaron's character is deliberately the flashiest character. But after him, I think it's very unusual to have three different, well-written female roles,
Yeah.
and I think all three of them are, and I think all three of the actresses did a great job.
Oh, totally. And I mean, Elle here did an amazing job in the film. And you get to see her, do her thing as well, not just the dancing, obviously, but later in the movie, some of the stuff she does as well, I think it worked. And altogether, and getting to see the werewolf kill people, the way they do it, and, it does bring back that old school style of, just letting the blood fly and all that. That was a lot of fun as well, just to see the different ways that these people get dispatched when it comes.
It's funny during this. I'm finally far enough away from it that I'm able to look at it and appreciate it for what it was, because I was really in production, post-production mode for so long. And Aaron was one of the editors, by the way. But I mean, people kept saying, "Oh yeah, it's really bloody," with a big smile on their faces. And I was like, "Yeah, is it? I wanted it to be bloodier. I wanted a lot more practical blood. But what's there, I think, is pretty effective. In fact, I've seen it with an audience like 5 times now. And when Chad gets his foot in the trap, and there's just that spurting coming out of the
Yeah.
leg, people react to that every time, and I really enjoy I really enjoy that.
That was it was actually a real bear trap that they had assured me was modified to be safe. Um, so there's some dispute about how much of that was fake blood and how much of it was actually my blood spurting out of it. But anything for the film.
No
Also,
Chad were
you have
hurt
like
in
a
the
big scar now around your foot. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Well, I have a deep emotional scar from the film. So
That's me.
and yes, yeah, absolutely, and that's Greg.
So how long did shooting actually take on this, including the pickups? How long did shooting take altogether?
So we had 2 days set aside for Chad and Caitlin, but I was going to try and get their stuff in one day just to save on crew money.
Mhm.
And we had to do it in one day because it rained the next day. So we really got squeezed a day and a half into one day, which created a few problems that we worked around. Then with the principal photography cast, I think it was like 14 days scheduled and it ended up going 15. But then there were so many pickup days. And, sometimes a pickup day would be me and the cinematographer, Chris Cosgrave, going out and just shooting a close up of a werewolf, which we did the same shots 4 or 5 times before I was happy with them. Sometimes it would be me, Chris, and Keith going out. One day we had the full crew, and we were able to keep getting back into that cabin. Thank God they didn't care that our insurance had run out. For a lot of locations, that's a big concern, but they didn't care. They were cool with us. And so we had one full day where we went back and got a lot of that werewolf action because I had a whole nother werewolf done that I wanted to incorporate into the ending.
Interesting. Now I gotta ask because I remember when you did Guns of Eden, and we had talked about this. You had used like at one point you used like toy guns and painted them to look like the actual guns. Did you do that again for this film, or did you get like actual prop guns this time?
Well, it was both on Guns of Eden. I
Yeah.
mean, we had quote actual props. We
Yeah.
had airsofts and toys, but some of the ones that you saw were definitely like Walmart things spray painted. But a lot of airsoft guns, that Gatling gun and some of the
Hmm.
sniper rifles
Yeah.
and stuff, those are expensive airsoft things that I inherited from another filmmaker. Um, and there's no need to ever get more weapons besides the arsenal we already have of toys and airsoft. So Chris, the cinematographer, he chose what Aaron's big rifle was and whatever the handgun was. The handgun may have been a toy, I don't know. But we don't shoot blanks on my films ever, and we never will. It's just not necessary.
Yeah. No, you don't need
Nothing,
to. No.
nothing is gained from that.
No, and it worked too. The way you see them just once you see Aaron just unloading against the werewolves there, that's just fun enough as it is. I mean, just the way everything came out, it came out perfect in my opinion. Like just the way it was done. You don't need to rely on blanks or anything like that anymore. You just go ahead and use the visual effects, right there and whatnot, and it just in the squibs, and it worked perfectly.
And we
I'll
still
tell
had
you
a
something.
we still had a really rigorous security protocol in place for that too. The guns were rigged to never fire. No props, no BBs, no nothing. But we still always had safety meetings when they came out. People were inspecting them. Myself and one or two other people were the only people that were ever supposed to handle them. So even though we knew it was a controlled, safe environment, we still always made sure that it was 100% that way and that everybody knew it. So
It was a lot easier with one or two prop guns on this film, than with the 30 at a time that we had on Guns of Eden.
I
That
remember
was
that.
that was hard work.
I
Uh,
remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I want to make a point though that when you do use blanks, there's always when you watch the footage, there's always suspense as to whether or not you captured the muzzle flashes anyways, because they're so fast that they're often between the frames. So I've worked on 4 or 5 films that actually did use blanks, and you're watching the footage afterwards. And if somebody shoots a revolver 5 times and you get 4 muzzle flashes, you
Mhm.
consider yourself lucky. So you would have to enhance that digitally anyway. So there's just no point in risking people's lives.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, but altogether, a great job. I mean, this was a great film. I really enjoyed this, and it was just so much fun to see like an old school fun werewolf popcorn flick, and it has the '70s style drive-in era stuff with, yeah, as you mentioned, great, the dancing. Yeah, it was like the '80s style scene and all that. But altogether, this was such a fun film, and I'm hoping people will get to see it. And to be honest with you, the way it ended, I'm hoping there will be a Frenzy Moon too. So is that something that you're hoping will happen? Because
Listen, if the distributor comes to me and says, "Wow, this film did really well. I want to finance a sequel," then I'll be like, "Yeah, okay. Let's talk about how much that's going to be because I would need a lot more money for effects if I were to do another one."
Yeah, I
I
hear
have
that.
two different scenarios I could do if that were to happen. You can't resist. I mean, you have time to kill, you come up with ideas. At least I do if I'm a writer.
Oh, I
Uh,
know that.
a point I want to make is that this is really an action horror film too. Like
Yeah.
when the action happens, there's quite a bit, and we were lucky in that Elle is a fight choreographer. Her boyfriend Donovan, who played the main werewolf, he's a fight
Mhm.
choreographer, and then the double for Steven, we would have the double have the makeup on his legs and stuff while Steven was doing something else, and you can't tell from behind that it's a double. He was a fight choreographer, so we had three different people on set who were pretty good at stage combat.
That's awesome. So, Alec, I do want to ask this: what is your background? How did you get started in the whole stunt thing? Now you just picked my interest. Now I
Sure.
want to hear this. How did you get into the stunt, like the stunt stuff?
Yeah, well, so my training, my primary training is I have a BFA in acting from Fredonia University, and part of the coursework that you do there is you take unarmed combat, you take Renaissance weapons. So I'm also very well versed in swords of all different kinds. And through taking those courses, I took the certification course through the Society of American Fight Directors. So I'm certified in unarmed combat and then 4 different weapons. And I am absolutely chomping at the bit to use that certification any chance that I get. There's just not a ton of stuff around here, at least that really calls for that. And so I was super, super excited when we got to do a bit of it on this one. But yeah, so and meet my partner Donovan, who plays the werewolf. He has the exact same training, and yeah, and we're also both on Robin's stunt team, which is local to Buffalo as well.
That's awesome. Wow. See, I knew you like the way you brought Sheila to the forefront. You're this complete badass type. You know, and I saw everything that goes on with the action. My question was like, does she does like her own stunts in this? Because that would be freaking awesome if that was the case. And I'm glad to hear that you did. And I hope that there's more projects out there that you can get to show this stuff both in front and behind the screens because that would be freaking awesome.
For sure. I think probably one of the most fun days I had on set was the day where we had the glass bottle that gets smacked over my
Go
head. I don't know
ahead.
if I
That's not a big
the day
That's
that
not a
the
big
glass bottle
Yeah,
gets sorry, I don't know if it's spoilers or anything, but yeah, the day that Kayla smacks the glass bottle over my head, they were like, "You're gonna get smacked with a glass bottle," and I was like, "Oh my god, really?" And we got to test it, and then and
Well,
she,
let's not skip over
sorry.
the test. That was a major part of the day.
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
And I got to smack Greg with a glass bottle. And then yeah, it
Every
was just
actor's
very
dream.
exciting. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you
I
get
have
to
a video
attack
of
the
that still.
director. That's a rarity.
I think my boyfriend Donovan also got to smack a glass bottle over my head, which I have that video still. And I showed my parents with no context, and they were like, "Oh my god." And it's like, it's a sugar bottle. I felt nothing. It's okay. But yeah, it was honestly so much fun. And I also hope I get to do more stuff like that too.
That's awesome. Aaron, I gotta tell you, I just realized this. You kind of resemble Mark Hamill, so I totally see the McCready thing, but I can see like I can see you playing a Luke Skywalker type down the road because you got that you do have a little bit of resemblance to Mark Hamill. I just wanted to bring that out because I just realized I was watching the film now and I'm like, this guy looks like Kurt Russell meets Mark Hamill in a way, like the way he comes out.
All right, I'll take it. Yeah, it's the new hairdo. I had
Yeah.
longer hair like in the film. I had that for about 11 years. So I used to get when I was younger. I used to get Kiefer Sutherland all the time. But I'll take Mark Hamill. I'll take that willingly. And yeah,
That's awesome.
thank you.
So with that said, Frenzy Moon is now out, and so what's next for you guys that you can talk about? Any new projects in the works that's coming up for you guys, or anything on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm working on a short film with a colleague of mine. She got a grant to make her first directorial debut, so I'm writing that. Going to be in it, produce it. with her. I also am very close with my writing partner, Jeremy Hogan. We have a script that's very close to being optioned by a South African film director. To have some stuff going on. So everything's in kind of negotiations with the lawyers and stuff like that. But just to even be like, whoa.
Yeah, that's awesome because I'm pretty tight with some people in the South African film industry, so that's pretty awesome.
Do you know Grant D'Souza?
I think I've heard of him.
Does a lot of commercials, does big high-end commercials, really good stuff. So
yeah.
He's hoping that he can turn our script into his first feature. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm directing a film. We've been working on it since right after Greg's wife's festival, Valkyrie International Film Festival. A very good friend of mine, Marissa Graves, wrote the script back in 2019, and we talked about making it, I think, in 2023. It just kind of never really came to fruition. And then she came to me and she was like, let's do this. And it is happening next weekend, I think, at this point. Yes. We're filming it next weekend, and I'm very excited. It's actually starring Stephen Maiseke, who plays Clinton in Frenzy Moon.
Oh, awesome.
Greg and I have actually teamed up to do kind of a werewolf movie spinoff, but now hear us out. It's werewolves, but with cows, and we're calling it Frenzy Moo.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? You can do anything now because last year I saw a movie called Murderitaville, and it's a were-parrot. So, you know, if you can do a were-parrot, you could definitely do a were-cow at this point.
There you go. Why not?
So all three of these actors, these are the three members of the cast that I knew to one degree or another. Elle and I had worked on a film called Unbelievable, the movie, a Buffalo Bills Mafia film, which is out right now. Aaron had a small part in Guns of Eden, but we started talking about this, and Chad I had seen numerous times at my film festival. All three of them are the three I knew. The other ones I saw either on set of somebody else's film or on a stage play, and all three of them are directors and writers.
That's awesome. And we know, Greg, you're just keeping busy as well, so I know you're getting this film out there, and hopefully
this film doesn't end for me. It's all hustling and promotion right now, and also reward perks for the next month and a half. I'm boxing and mailing reward perks. That's the downside of crowdfunding. Model kits that weigh a lot. It's going to be expensive. I have to have the t-shirts made, the posters. So it's going to be a very busy time trying to get the packages out before the Christmas holiday rush. I'm developing two projects, one horror, one action thriller with a little horror. I kind of want to rest a bit, but, you know, there's no rest for the wicked. One of them can only be shot in the summer, so I gotta start getting busy if that one's gonna happen.
Yeah, I hear that. Yep, and as for me, I'm getting ready for this year's World Film Geek Awards in December. And I will tell you now, this film, since it came out just now, it will be eligible for next year's World Film Geek Awards. So hopefully it will get nominated at some point, you know. So we'll see how it goes there. So
I knew somebody whose ass I could kiss to get.
Come on, Greg. I've known you for like 4 years now. So you know, you never know. So there you go. But everyone, check out Frenzy Moon. It is now out on digital. It's also on demand. If you love werewolf movies and you love the old school drive-in era movies, definitely check this one out. It is a lot of fun. Greg, Aaron, Elle, and Chad, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. You guys are always awesome, and I can't wait to see more of your stuff.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you very much.
Good seeing you all.